So today, we're going to dive into a philosophy called Stronger by the Day. And really, it's a completely different way of looking at self-improvement, one that's designed to finally get us off that frustrating hamster wheel of starting and stopping. Let's see how it all works.
Let's just kick things off with a question that I'm pretty sure every single one of us has asked at some point. Why? Why do our best intentions, the new diet, that ambitious workout plan, why do they so often just fizzle out a few weeks in?
Well, the idea here is that the answer lies in something called the motivation trap. This is all about getting to the root cause of why that cycle of failure feels so darn familiar.
I mean, does this look familiar? It always starts on a Monday, right? You're full of motivation. A new plan begins. But then, a few weeks later, life does what it always does. It happens. Stress piles up, your energy tanks, and before you even realize it, your old habits have just quietly crept back in. And then what? We find a new plan and start the whole exhausting loop all over again.
But here's the big idea. What if we've been blaming the wrong thing this whole time? What if the problem was never about you, not about a lack of discipline or motivation or willpower, but that the entire approach was flawed from the very beginning?
Okay, so if it's not a personal failure, then what is the real issue? Well, this next section gets right to the heart of the whole philosophy. It's all about the massive difference between effort and systems.
This comparison right here, it explains everything. On the left, you've got effort. Think of it like a battery that's always running down. It depends on motivation, on willpower, these huge heroic bursts of energy that, always lead to burnout. But on the right, you've got systems. This is the sustainable path. It's built on small habits, on quiet consistency. And the end result isn't burnout, it's real, lasting change.
And this quote just perfectly captures the whole idea. Lasting change doesn't come from heroic bursts of effort. It comes from small behaviors repeated until they shape who you become. It's not about the drama, it's about the daily routine.
So, that all sounds great, but how do we actually build these systems? Well, that brings us right to our next section, how to actually go about building automatic habits.
So what is a habit-based system? Basically, it's just a way of setting up your life so that these small, healthy actions become so normal, so routine, that you stop thinking about them. You don't need motivation anymore because they just happen. They're automatic.
And the path to get there is actually really simple. It's a four-step process. First, you start incredibly small, almost ridiculously small. Second, you just repeat that tiny behavior every single day. Third, over time, that action just becomes automatic. And finally, that new automatic habit starts to actually change who you see yourself as.
Now, this whole philosophy isn't just about going to the gym or eating a salad. No, it's a holistic approach, and it's built on what are called the 4 pillars. And the most important thing to get here is that these aren't 4 separate things you have to juggle. Think of it like a connected roadmap, where each pillar holds up the others, creating a foundation for a total transformation. Let's break them down.
Okay, first up is body and vitality. This is the physical foundation of everything. We're not talking about forcing yourself to do a 2-hour workout. We're talking about building a system where, say, a 10-minute walk after lunch becomes automatic, a non-negotiable part of your day that just naturally fuels your energy.
Next, we've got metabolism and weight, and you can think of this as the off-ramp from that endless yo-yo dieting highway. So instead of obsessively counting every calorie, this is about building one simple habit, like making sure you add protein to every meal. That's a system that supports your metabolism for results that actually stick around.
Pillar 3 is longevity and resilience. This is all about playing the long game. It's about future-proofing your health with simple daily routines. Forget all the complicated biohacking stuff. Just think about the automatic habit of getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep. That's a system that supports your brain and your heart for decades.
In the final pillar, mind and emotions. Honestly, this might be the most important one. This is the engine that drives the whole car. A tiny 2-minute meditation habit might sound insignificant, but that's the system that trains the focus and the calm you need to actually stick with all the other pillars.
And look, this isn't just some abstract theory. It's designed for the real, messy world we all live in. I mean, take this quote from Sandra. She says, "As a full-time employee dealing with work deadlines and family life, I rarely find wellness resources that are practical." That right there just highlights why we need a system that actually fits into a busy life.
So, where does all this lead? What's the actual payoff for installing these systems in your life? Let's take a look at the end result, at your future self.
Just picture it for a second. Imagine yourself just 6 months down the road. You're waking up not just on a motivated Monday, but every single day with this steady, reliable energy that you can count on.
And instead of that constant nagging feeling of being overwhelmed by your to-do list and everything life throws at you, you just feel a sense of clarity, a sense of control.
And this is the real game changer. You start making healthier choices without that exhausting internal debate. There's no back and forth because it's no longer something you have to force yourself to do. It's simply become who you are.
And that brings us to the final, and I think the most powerful metaphor for all of this. It's about thinking of this not as a plan, but as installing a new operating system.
I just love this quote. You're not just getting information, you're installing a new operating system for how you live. Think about that. This isn't some temporary app you run for 30 days and then delete. It is a fundamental upgrade to your internal wiring that just runs automatically in the background of your life.
And so, let's just end on this question for you to think about. If you are tired of that endless cycle of restarting, if you are just done relying on motivation that always fades, what is one small, maybe even laughably easy automatic habit that you could start building today?